Have you ever stopped to think how a team of Ferrari's caliber, with two of the most talented drivers on the grid, can be facing so many problems in the middle of the 2025 Formula One season? On paper, everything seemed perfect. Lewis Hamilton, seven-time world champion, joining forces with Charles Leclerc, the homegrown driver, in a revamped Ferrari, with new aerodynamic concepts, title promises, and a management focused on results. But the reality that is unfolding on the tracks is very different. In the most recent Austrian GP, instead of celebration and confidence, what we saw was public criticism, technical complaints, and a tense atmosphere in the red pits of Maranello. Hamilton left frustrated, complaining about the brakes. Leclerc, even on the podium, criticized the team's strategy, and Ferrari's bosses had to rush to put out the fire. What is really going on inside the Scuderia? So stay until the end of the video to understand all this controversy. Like and subscribe to the channel. In the world of Formula One, where every millisecond counts, a technical detail can be the difference between winning and disappearing in the middle of the pack. And it was precisely one of these details that set off alarm bells at Ferrari after the 2025 Austrian GP. Lewis Hamilton, seven-time world champion, did not mince words when criticizing one of the most fundamental components of his car, the brakes. In his post-race statements, Hamilton stated in no uncertain terms that he had to manage the brakes from the start, a situation that completely compromised his performance throughout the 71 laps at the Red Bull Ring. The statement not only exposed an internal problem, but also raised doubts about Ferrari's technical reliability, just as the team was trying to prove that it had turned things around this season. The Briton did not speak out of anger, but with a sincerity that carries the weight of frustration. And when a driver of Hamilton's caliber starts complaining publicly, it is a sign that something much deeper is wrong. According to Crash.net, Hamilton revealed that the behavior of Ferrari's brakes has been inconsistent, describing the situation as a lottery. He mentioned that in some races they work reliably, but in others, such as in Austria, they become unstable to the point of compromising entire laps. This variability has been one of the biggest challenges faced since the start of the season. Hamilton stressed that this is not a new problem, but that he has insisted with the team about the need for a more effective solution. You never know what you're going to get when you hit the brakes. It costs time and confidence, especially when you're trying to fight with McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes, he said. In a category where the limits are constantly tested, confidence in the equipment is everything. And at the moment, it seems that Hamilton does not have it. The Austrian GP was particularly frustrating for the Briton. Despite finishing fourth, he emerged from the car visibly unhappy, not with the position itself, but with what had to be sacrificed to achieve it. He revealed that he had to adapt his driving style during the race, avoiding heavy braking to avoid overloading the discs and calipers, especially in high-load sections such as Turn 3 and Turn 4 of the Spielberg circuit. This had a direct impact on his race pace, as any attempt to attack or defend positions was hampered by the constant need to save the car. In his words, when you are struggling with the brakes from the first lap, you already know that you will not be able to fight with the guys in front. It is frustrating, because we have the pace, but we cannot use it. This statement reinforces the feeling that Ferrari is missing precious opportunities, not due to a lack of raw speed, but due to structural flaws that undermine the team's potential. The most curious thing is that, even with this public criticism, Hamilton made a point of praising the team's work behind the scenes. He acknowledged that the engineers are aware of the problem and that there is an effort to fix it, but time is running out. The team is trying, they know it's a priority. But every race that goes by without a definitive solution is a lost opportunity, he said. This stance of balancing criticism and support shows that Hamilton still believes in the Ferrari project, but his patience has an expiration date. After all, he didn't go to Maranello just to show off. He wants to win, and fast. While Hamilton expressed frustration with the brakes, Charles Leclerc also didn't hold back on his criticisms, and that was even after he got on the podium. Third place in the 2025 Austrian GP might seem, at first glance, to be a good result for Ferrari. But for those who watched the race or listened to the Monégasque after the race, it was clear that the internal mood was far from satisfied. Leclerc was blunt in saying that the race was very boring and that he felt limited by an extremely conservative strategy adopted by Ferrari, the famous lift and coast. which consists of taking your foot off the accelerator before braking zones to save fuel, preserve tires, or avoid damage to car components. In this case, the plank, the part responsible for controlling the minimum height of the floor. The problem is that this approach practically prevented Leclerc from attacking, leaving him isolated in third place and with no chance of fighting for anything more. And for a competitive driver like him, this was more frustrating than any retirement. Before I continue, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so that the YouTube algorithm recommends this video, and let's go. Leclerc did not mince words when describing what he felt on the track. According to him, the SF25 performed reasonably well, but the race management adopted completely took away the pleasure of driving. It was a lonely and boring race. We were doing lift and coast the whole time. We couldn't push it. We had to be super careful with the floor, said Leclerc in an interview with the press shortly after the GP. This statement is much more than a simple complaint. It reveals a conflict between what Ferrari can deliver and what its drivers want to perform. The car, which received a small floor update for Spielberg, did show some progress, especially in high-speed sections. However, the team chose not to exploit its maximum performance for fear of breaking the plank where rules. The excessive use of lift and coast turned Leclerc's race into a marathon of containment. Despite being at a competitive pace, he was unable to attack the cars in front and was also not threatened by those behind. This created a dead zone race, where the driver has no freedom to fight, only to follow management orders, something extremely exhausting. Leclerc's situation raises an important question within Ferrari. To what extent is the team willing to take risks in order to win? Ferrari's response to the public criticism from Leclerc and Hamilton was quick to emerge, and perhaps the most curious thing was the tone. It was neither defensive nor completely self-critical. It was, in fact, balanced, but it revealed the subtext of a team trying to justify its strategic choices in a scenario of extreme pressure. The team's deputy team principal, when asked about the statements made by her two drivers, took an almost didactic stance, explaining that the team was forced to adopt conservative measures, such as lift and coast, due to abnormal wear on the plank, the wooden board that runs along the bottom of the cars and regulates the minimum height limit. This justification, although technically valid, did not ease the discomfort. The public realized that Ferrari was more concerned with not being disqualified than with trying to win the race. And worst of all, the drivers themselves realized this too. During the post-GP press conference, Ferrari's deputy team principal, referring directly to Leclerc's complaint, stated that the team had no alternative. According to her, the SF25 sensors detected progressive wear on the titanium floorboard in the first third of the race. This, for any F1 team, raises a red flag. The FIA's technical regulations are extremely strict in this regard, and excessive wear on the floor can mean automatic disqualification, as has happened in previous races with other teams, including Ferrari itself under suspicion. Therefore, according to the team's management, the lift and coast was the only way to ensure that both cars finished the race legally. However, this explanation was not completely satisfactory, since the problem seems to have been more a symptom of poor preparation than an unforeseen race event. After all, if the car already presents structural risk at the start of the race, something went wrong with the weekend's configuration. Furthermore, Ferrari has been the target of repeated criticism for adopting overly reactive strategies rather than proactive ones. One example was the hesitation during the pit stop window, where Hamilton ended up losing significant time by staying out longer without any real gain in position, a decision that he himself contested. The Briton was clear in saying that staying out for more laps didn't help me at all, it just made me lose pace with the old tires. This criticism was added to those of Leclerc, creating a scenario where both drivers publicly demonstrated a lack of confidence in the pit wall's decisions, something extremely rare in top teams and even more worrying in a team with title ambitions. The deputy technical chief responded, saying that decisions are made based on the data available in real time, but admitted that they may have been too cautious due to the recent history of penalties and operational failures. But tell me, what did you think of this video? Comment below because I want to know your opinion, and like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything.